Zuhd, welcome. Yes, welcome to you. In the vlog resolving the contradictions of Kejawan, the contribution of Hindu philosophy, I outlined in the Hindu enlightenment levels of Kanishta Adhikari, which focuses on the material world, Madhyamya Adhikari, where one is aware of the more spiritual dimensions and moves between materialism and spiritualism, and Uttama Adhikari, where one submits to the universe, accepting that contradictions are a part of it. And of course, these helped me to resolve some of the contradictions within my own Kejawan belief, not least just an acceptance that contradictions will always be there. But as you'll be aware, I've recently been exploring the Sufi traditions, and in doing so I've been made aware of Zuhd and how it might be employed in a similar way. Now, I suspect in the development of Kejawan thinking, Hinduism and indeed Buddhism is probably more important than Zuhd. And nevertheless, Zuhd itself has been extremely important in the development of Islam, which of course has then affected Kejawan. What is Zuhd? What is Zuhd? A very valid question, isn't it? Yeah. Well, it's giving up the material world. So it's something I talk about quite a lot, isn't it? Turning to the hereafter. No, that's the wrong word. Turning to God, to Allah. Giving our hope on anyone other than Allah and turning to him. Its opposite is turning to and being turning to the world and towards materialism, being greedy. And you'll find in Al-Quran 57:23 that there is really a definition of Zuhd as not to grieve upon what is lost and not to delight upon what is gained, in order that you not despair over what has eluded you, and not exult in pride over what he has given you. And Allah does not like everyone self-deluded and boastful. You can also turn to the hadiths. Zuhd is defined as a lack of attachment to the world, a lack of profligacy, the correct utilisation of blessings, being grateful about blessings, shortening or shortening? Nah, I don't like that word. Restricting one's wishes, avoiding forbidden things and arrogance. Scholars of ethics consider there to be three levels of Zuhd with regard to the world, or I should say three levels of Zahids. These are followers of Zuhd. So the first one is the Zahid has an inclination towards the world, but through spiritual struggle keeps himself away from it. So you can see that already it's sounding very like the concept of Adhikari. The second level, the Zahid, gives up the world voluntarily, but his intention of giving up the world is to reach the blessings hereafter. In this viewpoint, the world is inconsiderable compared to the hereafter, or heaven. In this level, Zahid is like a person who chooses $1 in order to gain $2. So this is us being frightened of concepts of heaven and hell, which, as you know, I see as a metaphor. So the third level, well, you've guessed it, he voluntarily gives up worldly things, materialism, and desire without thinking of what he's losing. And of course, this is the highest level of Zuhd. Although Ibn Sina actually describes this as a Sufi rather than a Zahid, distinguishing it from the other Zahid levels. So Zuhd is not about being attached to our possessions. Nothing belongs to us and everything belongs to Allah. We submit to Allah in the knowledge that he can take these possessions from us, including, and this is the important bit that I've only just realised, including our loved ones. Also a hadith, Zuhd in prohibitions, Zuhd in doubtful issues, Zuhd in permissible issues, are considered amongst the different levels of Zuhd. So Zuhd is a very important concept in ethics and mysticism within Islam. In mysticism, it's considered amongst the stages of the spiritual journey, which to a degree I've outlined. It's also discussed in jurisprudence, and in view of some jurists, they would recommend Zuhd. Jurists give priority to needy Zahids in paying zakat. In some jurisprudential references, Zahid is mentioned amongst the required qualifications of being a judge. It's also said that the ruling issued by a jurist who is more acknowledged and a better Zahid is superior to that ruling of another jurist in case of disagreements between the rulings. Now, you will be aware that I'm somewhat dismissive of both man-made laws, either them Sharia or secular. But if we're really using the concept of a true Zahid, then I think it would overcome most of my objections. But I guess the issue now is, because of my problem with who is doing the judging and who is giving the punishments, have they the right to act like that? I guess the issue now is who judges what is a Zahid, because again, that would seem to me to be Allah's prerogative. Certainly we could say that it would be the exact opposite of someone who puts themselves forward to judge and punish others. So we do have a clue, I think. Ibrahim ibn Adham, also called Ibrahim al-Balkhi, and he lived from around 718 to 782. He's one of the most important and prominent of the early ascetic Sufi Sunan. His story is associated with the concept of Zuhd. Indeed, many argued that it was he who founded the concept of Zuhd. According to Indian Sufi Muslim traditions, Ibrahim's family was from Kufa in modern-day Iraq, but he was born in al-Balkhi in modern-day Afghanistan, interestingly, where Rumi was also born. While some writers trace back his lineages to Abdullah, the brothers of Jafar al-Sadiq, son of Muhammad al-Bakir, and grandson of Hussein ibn Ali. The most famous family tree of his Sufi ancestors, along with most authors, trace it back to Umar bin Khattab. It's said that he was a wealthy prince and that he had 16,000 wives and 1.8 million horses. My God. He received a warning from God, the Qadir, who appeared to him twice, and he abdicated his throne to take up an ascetic life in Syria, having migrated somewhere around 750. He chose to live the rest of his life a semi-nomadic lifestyle, often travelling as far south as Gaza. Ibn Adham himself said that the heart has three coats: happiness, sadness and contentness. If you're happy with what you have, then you're an eager person, and he who is eager is deprived. If you are sad over what you lost, then you are a bitter person, and he who is bitter feels tortured. If you are concerned with praise, then you seek admiration, and seeking spoils your work. Ibrahim ibn Adham himself abhorred begging and worked tirelessly for a livelihood, such as grinding corn or tending orchards. It's also believed that he engaged in military operations on the border with Byzantium, and maybe he ultimately died in one of his naval expeditions, although others believe that he simply died in Damascus. Another lovely quote from him: "A man attains the rank of righteous only after passing these steps, 6 steps. He must close the door of bounty and open the door of hardships. He must close the door of dignity and open the door of humility. He must close the door of comfort and open the door of striving. He must close the door of sleep and open the door of vigilance. He must close the door of wealth and open the door of poverty. He must close the door of worldly expectations and open the door of preparedness for death." Sadiq al-Balkhi, we don't know when he was born, but he died in 1810, was an early Sufi Sunan of the Khorasan school. Tradition makes him a disciple of Ibrahim ibn Adham. Indeed, it's believed that his writings popularised the teachings of Ibrahim ibn Adham. He emphasised the importance of tawakkul, or reliance upon God. Maqam. The concept of Zuhd, or asceticism, has an important place in tasawwuf. At the heart of Zuhd gives less importance to worldly needs and advantages. It refrains from being opportunist and selfish, carries as little concern for other self-benefits, and becomes fully satisfied with whatever is current or present and what is given in any circumstances. Now, Zuhd feeds directly into the concept of maqam or maqamat, which is the plural, which roughly translate to stations in Arabic. And it's the various stages that a Sufi soul must travel in its search for Allah, or must attain, I should really say. The first one is twaba, which means repentance. We then have wara, watchfulness, or you could see it as a fear of Allah. 3, Zuhd, renunciation, or maybe detachment is better. 4, or poverty. 5, sabar, or patience. 6, tawakkul, trust or surrender. And 7, rida, satisfaction or acceptance. Or more correctly, acceptance is said to be the greatest gate, barrier to God, and is seen as heaven on earth. And this station itself is divided into 3 parts. The first is those who attempt to silence their anxieties until they're able to accept their misfortunes, their comforts, discomforts, deprivations, and bounties. The second are those who accept God and wish for God to accept them. These people do not seek priority in their acceptance, even if they view all blessings and misfortunes as being the same. The third of those who go beyond the second group are not looking for God's acceptance of them and theirs of God. Indeed, and instead they accept that God has preordained all of his creation. So this is submission, isn't it? So it seems to me that, and to prestigious Sufi theologians, that Zuhd and Maqam provide guidance on how we should approach what is often nowadays called as progress. And now, what I'm certainly not doing is rejecting progress as the Salafis do. Particularly the Salafis reject progress within Islam, which is an anathema to me. But what I would say is these concepts do inform my concerns, for example, about the internet and the multiverse, that I've been talking about in other vlogs, but also my very deep felt concern that maybe science, technology, the scientific method, these things we associate with the Enlightenment are actually now played out. They've taken us as far as we can go. And therefore, we need to look elsewhere. And the only place I can think of looking is towards the light that I have found. So, yeah, although these come from near the time of the Prophet, these concepts, you can see how they're massively important, especially to the world as we find it today. Well, I really hope you've enjoyed this vlog and that, yeah, not only got something out of it, but provoked thoughts. I'm not here to push my beliefs, my thoughts on you, only to open up your own thinking, get you thinking about the world and life. When I started The Real Magic of Java, I believed that I'd only release them every month or maybe every 2 months. But now I find myself adding to this subsection once or twice a week. But please subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications for when I add new parts to this subsection. In part, the reason why I'm doing it more often is that the concept has moved from filming rituals and events that took place in Java to me also describing my beliefs and philosophy. And that does come in response to people expressing an interest in it. But of course, you know, me actually seeing rituals and events really doesn't happen so often. What I would say to you is that there's no attempt at subterfuge on my behalf. And when I do experience rituals, I will include them for you to see. And as I say, there's no way I'm trying to mislead you. And if I believe there is subterfuge, if I uncover it, I will point it out to you. I'm trying to be as honest as I can be. Now, please make comments, please ask questions, and I'll try to be as honest and open with you as I can be. Of course, there will be some of you who disagree with me, particularly when I talk in terms of my own beliefs, my own feelings. And, you know, you're welcome to alternative feelings and we can agree to disagree. Sometimes I find that people on YouTube can be unnecessarily attacking and aggressive, and at times I don't restrain myself enough, and I apologise, but it's not my intention to put anybody down, you know. I know what I talk about can be emotive, and it can be challenging to your beliefs. But, you know, I'd love to enter an open discussion, a heartfelt discussion. But unfortunately, I often come across things that are, especially when people quote the scriptures to me, I've just no idea where it takes us, you know. Because I'm speaking from the heart, you know. I mean, you know, sorry, if you want to quote the scriptures at me, do so, but it doesn't have much impact on me, you know. I personally have no desire to impose my feelings on you, and I suppose when people try to do it to me, it washes off, you know. All I'm trying to do is I'm trying to share my feelings with you, and I'd love an open discussion on feelings. I really would love it, you know. And sorry if I don't always react as best I should. I try and cure this in myself, but I think this is part of the sort of narcissism of social media that I talk about so much in this subsection. So look, if you've enjoyed it, I really urge you to listen to other sections on this channel, particularly the 4 audio books that I've uploaded onto this channel. Yes, they are in a novel format. They are novels, but they go into much greater depth of my thoughts and feelings. Now, what I would say to you is these are sequential. So my thoughts and feelings develop as we go through each chapter and each book. So it does begin with 1.1, the Chinese cemetery. But, you know, hey, it's up to you. Feel free to dip in as you wish, as you want. And, you know, really heartfelt thanks for listening to this. And I really want to say a great big thank you, and God bless you.